number 21, Jim Hudson.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and the County Commissioners and Mr. Rowell. I've asked to be allowed to come before you today because I have a specific proposal I'm going to request, but I feel like it's necessary before I get to that specific proposal to review the facts about the breaches that occurred in our election office in January of 2021, because that's what this is about and that's why I'm here. I'm not here as a politician. I'm a concerned citizen in Coffee County. I told the first meeting I went to, I do not want to be here. I do not want to incur the wrath of people and the criticism of people. But when I began reading the details of what occurred in January of 2021, I felt that something needed to be done and somebody needed to make our commissioners as well as our Board of Elections people aware of the events that took place and how severe and egregious they were and how offensive they were to me as a citizen of Coffee County. So that's why I'm here. I'm not here as a politician. I'm not here as a Democrat, Republican. It's not a black-white issue. It's a Coffee County citizen issue. And I thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. This is the fourth meeting that I have had the opportunity to speak. In every meeting, without exception, there has been efforts, and I don't mean this as a personal criticism, efforts to restrict what the people from the county want to say about this situation, including myself. I started out 5 minutes. You cannot cover this stuff in 5 minutes. You can't cover it hardly in 15 minutes. I'm going to read almost everything that I've written down so that it will expedite what we're doing this morning. But it hurt me to see citizens who wanted to come forth and express their concerns, and the chairman of the Board of Elections tell them they had 5 minutes, and then after 5 minutes, take a seat. I hope that you will give me some leeway this morning. I'm old, I'm wore out. I want your patience, I want your understanding. You're my neighbors, I love you. I'm gonna die in this county. And I told the first people I spoke to, that's the reason I'm here. I came back to Georgia because I love Georgia and its people. And like I said, I have been here since 1981. I'm going to die here. But we can make this a better county if we do something this morning to start the ball rolling. Let me just read you some of the facts in this case. This is taken from a statement sworn under oath by a computer expert in federal court. Here's what he says after examining all the evidence, doing everything he felt like he needed to do. Here's what he found. He found in 1921 the security of Georgia's voting system was breached in Coffee County on at least 3 occasions. January 7, January 18 through 19, January 25 through 29. On January 7, 4 Sullivan Strickler employees, these were employees hired by people outside of Coffee County, probably by one of the parties, political parties. And these employees traveled to the Coffee County election office. Over a 7-hour period, they copied data from much of the election hardware using forensic tools and techniques. They left Coffee County with election software and data on a hard drive. In addition to those people from Sullivan and Strickler that were present, there was also present an Atlanta bail bondsman named Scott Hall and his associated who extracted any information that they wanted. Subsequently, Mr. Hall bragged about what he did in Coffee County. He said he scanned every, excuse the language, freaking ballot, to use his language. Of course, he did a lot of other things too. And all this is on video. It's all been available. It's on video. The other people that were present on that particular occasion were Mr. Eric Cheney, who was a member of the Board of Elections at that time, Mr. Ed Boyles, who was a former chairman of the Board of Elections, Miss Missy Hampton, Mrs. Kathy Latham, who was the chairperson of the GOP party at that time, along with the assistant for Ms. Hampton. Sullivan Strickland performed the data collection under a contract signed by Sidney Powell. You may remember her as being an attorney in the Trump campaign. Sidney Powell, on behalf of Defending the Republican, were paid by Defending the Republican PAC. Their work was directed or coordinated by at least 10 individuals. The data collected by Sullivan and Strickland included complete copies of software and data from a variety of election devices, 4 significant election components were included: the election management system, which I understand, I'm not a computer expert or a voting expert, but the EMS server is one of the most important pieces of equipment in the election office, is my understanding. It's supposed to be only accessed by a code and supposed to be kept, I think, under lock and key. The 4 significant election components were included: the election management system server, the image cast central scanner tabulator, the image cast ballot marking devices, and the media used to program image cast precinct scanners. Coffee County election software and data was distributed to at least 10 individuals between January and June of 2021. These individuals are affiliated with at least 7 different organizations. Evidence suggests it was distributed further by some of those individuals. During January 18 through 19, 2021, Doug Logan and Jeffrey Lindbergh were given extraordinary access to Georgia's voting system in Coffee County by the election director. They had access for over 13 hours, including hours when the election office was closed to the public. During their visit, the system dates on several election computers were changed. Scanner settings were reconfigured several times. Over 6,500 ballots were scanned, and 1 precinct scanner was opened up to inspect the parts inside. Their work was organized by 2 men by the name of James Penrose and Charles Bundren. During January 25 through 29, Jeffrey Lindbergh was again given extraordinary access to Georgia's voting system in Coffee County by the election director, who was Misty Hampton. But I want to stop right there. When we had a recent meeting, the most recent meeting, dealing with a situation with the Board of Elections, the chairman, who had told me at the May meeting that he couldn't even say whether there were any breaches, read a statement. In that statement, he finally, after all this time, acknowledged that there were breaches and laid it all, as I understood what he was reading to us, laid it all at the feet of Misty Hampton. Well, what he didn't realize is that there were text messages that were exchanged between Misty Hampton and Eric Cheney during this period of time. During not only they were not only present physically on January 7th, there were text messages using a code. Here it says, if you happen to be in town, the guys measuring my desk are still here. The guys measuring the desk were the guys that were downloading the stuff off the computers. They were the guys that were conducting the breaches. This was all between Misty and Eric. What my point is, Misty says, I confirmed this, that the board knew everything she was doing, and it was done with their approval. And here are exchanges where there's no question that, contrary to what the chairman said, Mr. Cheney knew exactly what was going on, knew those people were present, knew what was happening. He was a member of the board at that time. This expert goes on to say that I am aware of no authorization given for the irregular access to Coffee County's election office in January 2021. The evidence indicates an illusion of authorization was created by Eric Cheney, leveraging his membership on the Board of Elections, number 1. Number 2, by Misty Hampton's willingness to collaborate. And number 3, by several attorneys lending their integrity as officers of the court. And number 4, by involving many other willing and credulous participants. These events were by any measure a consequential breach of Georgia's election system, period. The access controls to protect election hardware and software were obviously insufficient. The data collected includes protected software from almost every component of Georgia's election system. Control over the software and data cannot be reestablished after its distribution, and all of Georgia's counties and other states must endure the increased risk as a result. The distribution of the data from Coffee County has made it easier for adversaries to obtain Georgia's election software, which expands opportunities for existing and new adversaries. Those adversaries may use the software in disinformation campaigns or study it to learn how to subvert its operation through malware, reprogramming, or disabling defenses. This breach and others like it portend easier access to equipment to put manipulations into effect. In Coffee County, strangers were given free rein for hours. These implications require that the recommendations of election security experts should be implemented fully and urgently. Further, it's been brought to our attention, that you recall that the system in the elections office has been replaced by the Secretary of State. It was replaced at the end of 2022, if I recall correctly. The Secretary of State says that whoever is responsible, including possibly this county, is going to pay the bill. And the bill, as I understand it, is about $450,000. So they're going to look to somebody to pay that $450,000 or whatever it is, and it could be Coffee County. What was done was in violation of the rules and regulations of the Secretary of State, and I can read those to you if you want me to. Not only that, was possibly violations of the state and federal law. But I'm not here to talk about criminal investigations or putting people in jail. I've made that clear from the time I stood up before the Board of Elections. That's not what I'm about. That's not why I've come before you. That's not why I came before the Board of Elections. What I want is the accountability. I want the county to hire an independent legal counsel to provide a report as to what occurred in all of this mess, and to tell us, have the problems been corrected? If not, what needs to be done to correct the problems? And finally, what can we do in the future to secure our system to make sure these types of things never occur again? And I'll be more specific about that in just a moment. Information surrounding the breaches has been available now for over 2 years, and none of our public officials have taken any credible action to inform the public of the details of what may have transpired, what corrective actions are necessary to address the breaches, and what measures have been implemented to ensure safe and secure elections in the future. During the most recent meeting of the Board of Elections, the chairman read a statement in which, if I understood him correctly, acknowledged there were things that occurred in our elections office during January of 2021. But he laid the blame, as I understand it again, solely at the feet of Misty Hampton. It should be pointed out that as late as the May meeting, I went to the May meeting, it was the first meeting I went to with the Board of Elections. At the May meeting, he refused to even acknowledge that there was a breach and declared they were not investigators, and they had no intention of investigating. They were going to leave everything up to the GBI. And we'll talk about that in just a moment. When he was asked why the change, when I asked him, why the change of heart? Why the change in stories? Why are you now saying there were breaches, and before you told us, you wouldn't even acknowledge that there was a breach, there's not going to be an investigation? Here's what he told me. He said, we've had a change in lawyers. No reflection on you, Mr. Rao. That's what he told me. So we've got a new story, new lawyer, new story. Old lawyer, old story. What's the truth? That's why you need independent counsel. The public is entitled to transparency. We're entitled to the truth, not what one lawyer says, and it's nothing personal. This is not one lawyer saying something ugly about another lawyer, or the other lawyer who's not with us, who's in Savannah, which is another story in itself. Why do we have 2 lawyers representing the Board of Elections? That's my understanding. We still have 2 lawyers. Tony's representing them, and the fellow from Savannah's representing them. Why do we have 2? I don't understand that. And that, again, we need transparency in our boards and with our public officials. The events which have transpired, particularly with regard to the breaches, while not receiving much attention locally and receiving almost no attention by our public officials in this county, have received nationwide attention. There have been derogatory articles from LA Times, the Washington Post, Texas newspapers and bloggers, Washington State bloggers, Atlanta Journal, Florida papers, including a local Sarasota paper, if you can imagine, Washington State bloggers and reporters, all derogatory, all ugly, nasty things about Coffee County because of the breaches that occurred and because nothing has been done about it. We can stop that if we take action to make this a transparent situation with independent counsel deciding independently what happened, what we need to do, and go forward from there. I've already mentioned this, but I'm going to mention it again. When concerned citizens such as myself have expressed our concern, at times we have been treated with rudeness and always with an effort to shut down what we are trying to say. As a county, we need to address the breaches that occurred, and we need full transparency. We need to know how these events came about. We need to know how the problems have been corrected, if they've been corrected. We need to have a procedure and a process in place which safeguards our election system and ensures that this never happens again. And again, I say to you, in order to accomplish this, I submitted a proposed resolution to the Elections Board requiring that independent legal counsel be retained to assist the board and provide a report and recommendations. My efforts to have such a resolution passed failed. In this regard, I would say and point out that the resolution was never read aloud. It was never discussed by the full board. The actual contents of the resolution was not discussed on the most recent meeting with the Board of Elections, the purpose of that meeting being to deal with the resolution. Some of our local citizens came forward and raised concerns about the resolution, although I've since learned that they didn't have a copy and had never read it. But these concerns I'm going to address. First of all, there's a concern with funds. We always have to go, the election board always has to go to this commission to obtain money. And one of the issues was we don't want to spend the money to hire independent counsel. Well, we just hired another lawyer from Savannah at $325 an hour, and you're saying we don't have money to hire an independent counsel? Who decided, by the way, what lawyer from Savannah was to be hired? You know what I saw? I saw a letter signed off by Wesley engaging the lawyer from Savannah. As far as I know, the Board of Elections never had a meeting to decide on what lawyer to hire. Never had an input. Never had a decision. Who recommended the lawyer from Savannah? That's why we need independent counsel. And we need this commission and we need the board involved. People don't read the resolution. I suspect many people, despite hours I've spent at night and on weekends, and ever since I discovered this mess, trying to get information to you all have never heard a lot of that stuff I sent to you. I know you haven't, because I've been told by board members on the Board of Elections they didn't have a clue. One person told me it was humiliating, it was embarrassing, but they haven't done one thing about it. I've done everything I know humanly possible within my limited ability to operate a computer to get information to you members of this commission and to the Board of Elections, because I know you haven't been provided with the information you need to make a decision about this. But what I'm trying to say to you, if the people who are making the decisions and who are standing up and opposing this resolution have not, number one, read the resolution, have not reviewed the facts, have not looked at the videos, have not read some of the depositions in the Curling case up in the Northern District, the federal court up in the Northern District of Georgia, if you've not acquainted yourself, then I submit respectfully to you that you should not oppose the resolution. You should educate yourself first and then decide whether the resolution is appropriate. I am here to urge you to do the following. I am urging that you put your stamp of approval on the resolution that I submitted to the Board of Elections. I know that you cannot pass that. That's a resolution that must be passed by that board. What I'm asking is for your approval and that you recommend to the Board of Elections that they pass the resolution. That's what I'm asking today. This is not whether I win or Tony wins or you win. It's about doing what's right and wrong. And I heard Mr. Peavy stand up here and pray. But if you do the right thing, it's going to be to get this thing transparent, get it in the open, and get an independent counsel involved so we can put this matter behind us. It's clear cut to me. That's why I got involved. If it is right and wrong. It's just that clear. It's not political. It's not political. It's not whether you win or I win or I've got the most influence. It's all about right and wrong. And you know, please don't take this the wrong way. When you make a decision and when you vote and when that board, I'm going to go back before them at least one more time and beg them. As much as I know how to beg, please straighten this mess out and take this stain off of my county, our county, that we all love and care about. Please. I want to talk about one more thing, at least, and it's sensitive. So I'm just going to read some of it. And again, this is not personal. I'm asking you to, you've heard what I've asked you to do today, and I've asked the Board of Elections to do that, and they declined. They refused to pass the resolution to get this thing straightened out. The actions of this board and the Board of Elections has been in effect to approve the breaches that occurred in January of 2021. Now let me tell you why I say that. I'm going to read this to you. I'll tell you, I was having trouble this morning. My wife said, and you can tell, when you're 80 years old, you're not quite like you are at 40. So my wife said, well, Jim, just take your finger, and she's right. You've got your notes, so just take your finger and read it one at a time. So that's what I'm going to do. In August of 22, Mr. Cheney's deposition was taken under oath. That's Mr. Eric Cheney. In the curling case, which is pending in federal court. At the time, he was not a board member. It is clear Mr. Cheney had no authority from the Board of Commissioners or the Secretary of State to participate in a breach which involved the copying of Georgia's statewide software for which the state holds the license. Coffee has no authority to allow anyone to make copies of this proprietary, security-sensitive software. However, there's evidence Cheney did take part in the breach and guided Ms. Hampton. It's my opinion that the interests of Mr. Cheney and those of the Commissioners and Board of Elections in this legal matter are not aligned and they are in conflict. Despite the adverse interest of Mr. Cheney and the Commissioners and the Elections Board, the Commissioners and the Board allowed and caused, again, this is not personal, this is just facts, caused Hall Booth Smith, the attorneys for the county and the board to represent Mr. Cheney at his deposition. Now, I hope that sinks in. You've got the lawyer, the law firm, not the lawyer, it's nothing personal. The law firm that represents our county and represents our Board of Elections appearing at a deposition of Eric Cheney, who is no longer a board member and whose interests are adverse to this board unless you are approving everything he did. Which, it can be argued, by you providing him with legal counsel, you did just that, and so did the Board of Elections. So that's where we are left today. Mr. Cheney, in his deposition, took the Fifth Amendment over 200 times. When the case, this situation was initially investigated, he was not truthful about even knowing the basic facts. We know that now. And what he didn't know at the time, he sent an email back stating certain facts, is that the videos would surface sooner or later. And they did. Mr. Cheney was prepared for his deposition and guided through it by the county attorney's office and the attorney who represents the Board of Elections. They advised him when to take the Fifth and protected him to avoid self-incrimination on the facts of the breaches within the confines of the law. Of course, all individuals are entitled to legal representation to protect themselves from self-incrimination, but legal representation is guided by strict a strict code of ethics that prohibit attorneys from representing parties who may have interest of conflict or may conflict. When the Hall Booth Smith attorneys were acting as the attorneys for the county and the Board of Elections in this matter, the interests of the county boards are the interest of you all and the county board is to fully expose the facts, not protect improper, unauthorized behavior by anyone, which is exactly what was being done in his deposition when he took the Fifth Amendment 200 times, more than 200 times. Representing both Mr. Cheney and the county created an untenable problem for Hall, Booth, and Smith, and they should have informed the county officials and should have stepped aside. But the way the situation is today, is it stands. We have our county attorney, our attorney for the Board of Elections, appeared as the attorney for Eric Cheney, which to me, and I think to reasonable people, would lead to the conclusion, unless something is done, is that we, this commission and the board, were putting their stamp of approval on what Mr. Cheney did. Now you can argue differently, you can have a different view of that, but I think that's the dangerous view. And I think that's the view a lot of the public will take. That's why, another reason why, we need independent legal counsel. There were two primary objections that the people at the last meeting raised with regard to the resolution and the appointment of legal counsel. One was the cost. We've already talked about the cost. And the second was a GBI. Now we know, I hope we know, the GBI does not get involved in submitting reports to county commissioners as to how they clean up their election system. They're in the business of putting people in jail. They're in the business of investigating to see if a crime has been committed. To use that is nothing but what I would call a red herring. The GBI is not going to help us. We need to clean this up ourselves. We need to be transparent. Now I'm almost through. Thank you for your indulgence. In September 2022, Mr. Wendell Stone appeared on behalf of the election board for its deposition in the same case. He testified that he met with attorneys from Hall Booth Smith and prepared for his deposition. Again, Hall Booth Smith guided Mr. Stone through his deposition, and I respectfully submit to you that the results of Hall Booth Smith representing Mr. Cheney, while at the same time representing Mr. Stone, is that the county commissioners and the Board of Elections have condoned whatever conduct Mr. Cheney may have participated in relative to the alleged breaches. And county officials have effectively advocated for Cheney and his activities through their own attorneys, all at Coffee County taxpayer expense. The resulting conclusion is that in order to avoid the appearance of impropriety, an independent counsel should be called upon by the county officials to look into this situation and make appropriate recommendations. Excuse me just a moment. Let me go back to the cost. The costs are not prohibitive. We don't even know what the costs are. But they were, when the people that got up and criticized the resolution because of cost had no clue what the costs are. We don't know what the costs are. The cost could be nothing. There could be a pro bono firm that would be willing to undertake this project, which would mean you'd get free representation. But how can we hire, I go back again, how can we hire another lawyer to represent the election board and then say that we don't have enough money to represent or to retain independent legal counsel? Let me conclude by thanking you for allowing me to speak. And again, let me urge you, and if you need a copy of the resolution, I have that. Let me urge you to make a motion this morning to approve the language of the resolution that says basically that they are to hire, they are allowed to hire or retain, or want to hire and retain independent legal counsel. And that you urge them to pass the resolution which I have submitted to them. When I was, I will conclude with these couple of comments. When I was thinking about what to say to you today, and the old comments that I have heard were, well, it's passed, we've taken corrective actions, there's nothing here to see. Let's just put it behind us. That's not the way you conduct business, commissioners. When that submarine, which we read about on the news, imploded and went to the bottom of the ocean, and those people lost their lives, somebody could have said that's the end of it. We ain't doing nothing else. But that's not going to be the end of it. There are going to be people who are going to look into that to find out what caused that submarine to sink. And there's going to be an investigation, and there's going to be recommendations, and that's what we need here. We need transparency, what happened, how do we cure the problem, and how do we make sure it never happens again. Thank you for finally listening to me, and I appreciate it. Appreciate your courtesy.
Mr. Hudson. Mr. Hudson.
Yes.
What is your full name and address?
It's James D. Hudson, 1054 Squire Road, Ambrose, Georgia, 31512.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Anything else?
And I forgot to yield, Mr. Chairman. Mr. D. Smith asked me if he could ask a couple of questions, and I just asked the board, can he ask a couple of questions?
It don't matter.
I don't know that we can answer, but you can show us. No.
Good morning. Good morning. Board members, I just want to say a couple of things. The biggest thing is I'm disappointed. I'm very disappointed. I guess it's been a year or so. I don't know exactly what it was, but I spoke very highly of a board of elections. I sat through a deposition, and I spoke real good things about our Coffee County Board of Elections. But I feel betrayed because they lied to me. I felt like they stuck knives in my back because they told me one thing and then I found out that it wasn't true. After the investigations that has been going on, I felt like they just lied to my face. And I don't appreciate it. I really don't. So now as a citizen, I'm gonna do all I can to find out the truth. To find out the truth. And just like you guys in here, when that breach occurred, we all was home. We had nothing to do with it, but it happened. It happened. And we all know that it happened. We all know that it happened. Now, commissioners, I beg of you to do your part. I beg of you, not as commissioners or attorneys, I beg of you to do your part as citizens of Coffee County, to do your part. To say, hey, look, I live here too, to know the truth. Because they have lied to you. As far as I know, I'm not a lawyer, so I can speak candidly. I can't do the things that Mr. Hudson did because he's obligated as an attorney. Somebody going to jail. A lot of people probably gonna go to jail. I'm not gonna be one of them. I'm gonna tell the truth. My little bit of knowledge of the law, stealing is a crime. Mr. Hampton, as far as I know, chairman over there, he told me that Misty was fired. Well, come to find out, she resigned. Now, if I steal from the county, I'm pretty sure y'all will fire me. Am I right? I know you can't answer a question, but if I steal money from the county, would you let me resign? Then tell everybody you can't afford to pay for another attorney, but can you allow people to steal money? Can everybody that works for the county steal from the county? Can everybody falsify their timesheet and steal from the county? If so, tell everybody that works here they can steal and resign. Allow everybody that clocks in to do that. If you allow one person to do it, please, for the record, tell everybody to do the same thing. Don't just allow one person to do it. Don't just allow one person to do it. Let everybody do it. Okay? Now, sir, I know you is the chairman of the board, so please announce, put a public announcement out there. Everybody that works for this county will be allowed to steal, and you will allow them to resign at no cost. I think that's fair. You allow Misty to do it, everybody else will be allowed to do it. Now, she's allegedly breached the election. That's what she's accused of. She has not been formally charged. I guess that's out of your control. My friend, Miss Pearson. Well, years ago, she allegedly went to the Board of Election. She was charged and went to jail just for coming on the premises. Why hasn't Misty been charged? It's been 2.5 years. She went to jail. Can y'all answer that? I know you can't answer no questions, but here she is right here. She went to jail. County seems to be a problem. Now, if you don't believe me, she's sitting right there. You're more than willing to ask her why she went to jail. Misty didn't. Nothing has happened. Now, Mr. Cheney, well, he resigned because he didn't live in the appropriate district that he was appointed. Well, I came here, me personally, came to this office that we sit in, that we in right now. I asked Mr. Doles and I asked Mr. Wesley about that. Mr. Cheney resigned because he didn't live in this. He didn't have to, because the bylaws stated that he could actually live in that district at that time. The bylaws, Mr. Rouse, said that he could. So he made the decision to resign. He didn't have to. So neither one of those guys was removed because of the breach. Let that be for the record, that neither one of them has been removed because of this breach. Neither one of them. So Coffee County has not done any actions because of the breach. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't know that. So what are we gonna do? This story has been covered by all national news, but we locally hasn't done anything. Right. What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? Come on, guys. We got to pick it up. We got to pick it up. Think about it. What are we gonna do? We can't wait on GBI, FBI, and all those other eyes. We got to take action. We got to take action. What are we gonna do? Can we answer that question? Subconsciously, is it in your mind, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? That board over there, I'm not asking none of them to resign. I mean, resigning ain't gonna fix nothing. The problem exists. We pray, we shake hands, we hug necks, we do all of that stuff, but what are we fixing? What are we fixing? The problem exists. Mr. Peavy asked me a long time ago to come to every meeting, to do what I do. I thank him for that. That meeting on February 25th, yes, I was there. Some of you commissioners say y'all wasn't in me. Stop lying, you was there. I seen you. And I've testified in the Supreme Court. Yeah, I seen you. And I'm telling you to your face, I will testify, I seen you. That computer that Mr. had over there, yeah, I seen it. So I'm telling you to your face, I'm not going to jail. I'm not going to jail. Been there, done that. I don't like no peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I'm telling you now. They ain't good. So I'm telling you guys, I'm telling you as a friend, I'm telling you as a neighbor, if you go to jail, go for something you did. Don't go to jail for something for somebody else did. Come do it. Y'all know the truth. Tell the truth. Tell the truth. The breach happened. It's okay to say, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. It didn't happen. We didn't mean for it to happen. I promise you, we forgive. God forgives. But it happened, guys. It happened. That's all I got to say. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Mr. Neesmith,
Yes, sir.
what's your full name?
My name is Larry Charles Neesmith Jr. And I tell the truth. I fight for right.
What's your address?
877 MJ McClellan. 877 MJ McClellan. Larry Charles Neesmith Jr. I fight for right. If it's wrong, I leave it alone. That's what I stand for. I want equal rights for everybody. I forever will fight for what's right. Forever. I love you guys.
All right, next.
I'm gonna say a few words, and then I think Miss Catherine's gonna speak for me. Thank you.
Let me go ahead and get your name.
Yes, sir, I was gonna give it to you at the beginning, because that's how we usually do it over at city council meeting. I'm Olivia Coley Pearson. I reside at 614 Taylor Circle, Douglas, Georgia. First of all, good morning. Thank you all for allowing us to have a few words to speak to you all on this morning. But before I get into what I'm gonna say, because I noticed that Mr. Neesmith kept asking the question or making a statement I know you all can't answer. So for the record, I want to be sure that that's correct. Is that y'all's policy, that you don't answer constituents? Okay, so Mr. Paulk.
I'm just gonna encourage you to, share your comments with us.
Okay, but I, I need to know if y'all can answer. That's one of the things before I get into it.
Yes,
Do y'all normally answer at your meetings, or?
ma'am. Generally, we take comment to try to understand what the issues are. So,
And when, so if you take comments, when is it that the constituents are gotten back to about their concerns? How is that, you send them a letter?
please, I think, consistent with what we do, I'd like to hear what you have to say.
I'm sorry, sir, we're having trouble hearing you.
I said, please, just share with us what your comments are first.
Well, before I can share my comments and concerns, I need to know how will I be responded back to about my comments and concerns? Will I get an answer back? Do I have to come back? What is the policy? I mean, if it's a policy that you don't take questions, say it's a policy or say something, but there should be some guidelines. At our city council meetings, we have procedure. We don't have where we can't take questions.
You can ask questions.
Sir?
You may ask questions.
What I asked was, can you all answer, or you have a policy that you don't answer? That's my question.
The board will address those things that they think are germane, if they choose to. So,
Okay, so it's your choice if you choose. Okay, that clears it up. But that's a difference in what he said is, I know y'all can't answer. That's not the same thing as y'all choosing not to answer. I just want to be clear for the record what the policy was. All right, so again, thank you all for letting me come before you. And I'll say to my elected representative up there, Mr. Paulk, I'd just like to say to you that, being that you are someone that I voted for, who represents me specifically, because I don't live in their districts, I reside in yours. I would just like to say, I think you owe it to me to be able to speak to me, because I don't think that nobody should be able to sit up here and dictate to you as an elected county commissioner that you can't answer your constituent.
I can promise you, any of us can answer anything at any time if we choose to. Nobody's got us muzzled.
Okay.
Okay? So
Thank
if
you.
we don't, it's because we choose not to.
Okay. That sounds good.
Okay, that
That's what
sound
I
good?
needed to
Okay,
hear.
okay.
Thank you so much,
You're welcome.
Commissioner Jowers. So I think that all of you sitting here are intelligent men, okay? That's what I believe. And in being intelligent as you are, and you too, I'm sorry, Miss Clerk, I was referring to the ones voting. Being that you all are all intelligent, the first letter of our alphabet is what? The letter A, right? A. A represents A. I didn't ask. That wasn't a question. That wasn't a question to you all. It was a statement.
I'm sorry.
It was a statement. You're fine. And being that we're speaking on the letter A, I want to talk about accountability. You all are accountable to the citizens. Whether you accept it or not, which is another A, acceptance. You're accountable. And Mr. Hudson has brought some very, very interesting information before you. I mean, very informative. And I commend him for his due diligence in the work that he's done to research and find out about all that has gone on and transpired here. So, as an elected official myself, I believe in fully representing the people. And I know that we are to be accountable. We're not to take lightly the people who put us in office. But when you sit up and appear to be almost equal to God Almighty, we choose to answer, we this, we that, whatever, however you want to do it. It's very disrespectful, in my opinion. I would never treat a citizen coming before me at the city council in that manner. Never. Never. Because you're not being accountable. you're not being professional. You're just not doing your due diligence for what you have been elected to do. Now, this is my first time coming here before you all on the matter concerning the breach. I've attended the Board of Elections meeting, some of those concerning it, but this is my first time before y'all. So, somebody has to do something. Somebody has to take accountability. Somebody has to be responsible. Somebody has to be caring. Somebody has to have enough love and compassion for the citizens of Douglas and Coffee County to say, okay, something happened. What happened? Let's see what we could do. Instead of doing what it appears to be happening as covering up, pretending nothing happened, turning the other cheek. And Mr. Neesmith referred to me being, arrested, matter of fact, twice, unjustly. But I go back, my mind goes back to Mr. Peavy, I guess he's gone. And he talked about the first thing that Jesus told when they was asked a question about what they should do. And they said to love God with all your heart first. So I want to know, how are we loving God? Are we being hypocrites? What are we doing? Because you can't love God, and it tells you that in the scripture, when you don't love your fellow man whom you've seen. You've never seen God, but you see your fellow man every day, but yet you don't love your fellow man. So we're being hypocrites to say we love God when we don't love our fellow man. We're being hypocritical. I'm not here to preach on because I'm not a pastor. But I know the word, and I know what the word requires if we're going to try to make it into the kingdom of heaven. We're wasting our time having people to come in here and give us the scripture, but yet we fail to follow it. We fail to follow it because you don't love your fellow man when you can turn and look away when some folks do something and other folk can just be accused of doing something and you can prosecute and persecute them. Ye hypocrites. But that's between y'all and God. Since you all are saying, y'all choose to answer what you want to. You choose to answer what you want to. It makes me think that perhaps, and let me make this point before I forget it, because I didn't have my words really already documented, because I knew that Mr. Hudson was going to cover everything like he did, and also Miss Catherine. So I didn't bother to really come prepared. I'm just kind of speaking from my heart. I'm at living right now. Should we, since y'all are being God right now and choosing to what you will and will not answer, should maybe this community take this further, up a higher notch? Maybe should the state attorney, Fonnie Willis, be contacted about everything that's going on? What should we do? We're coming to you all, our local leaders. Y'all are the people that represent us. And we're coming to you in good faith efforts to talk to you, to reason with you, to try to get some kind of answers and not being brushed off and not pretending something didn't happen. But we're not getting those because y'all choose what y'all want to answer. In my closing statement, I'd like to say, I pray and ask that y'all will take what Mr. Hudson has brought forward about the resolution, about recommending to the Board of Election members to accept that. It seems the fair thing to do to try to get to the bottom of all of this. There are a lot of questions that I have that I won't go into right now because I kind of became a little emotional in speaking this morning not long ago because, when I was given that answer about how y'all choose to answer what you want to. that just kind of rub me the wrong way, because I just don't see elected officials being able to say they're gonna choose what they want to answer and what they don't. It's just a way of getting away from your responsibility, shrugging off being able to be transparent, not being accountable. So, like I say, I got a little emotional just a while ago. Want to apologize for it because, like I said, the elected official I am, I'll never tell one of my constituents or any of my constituents that I'll answer what the hell I choose to answer from you. Never. Never. So perhaps in my closing, you all might want to consider, in addition to what Mr. Jim said, consider rethinking y'all appointments to that Board of Election boards, because we know y'all can't dictate to them what they do or what they need to do, but they need to work with the people. They need to become transparent. We need answers to what went on. And if they're not willing to do it, since you all appoint them, maybe some other appointments should be considered. Because after a while, if you all don't take actions, the county citizens are going to take action on y'all. Thank you.
All right, next.
Oh. Catherine Grant, 5237 Grayfield Circle, Valdosta. I don't know that I can add anything more to what's been said, and I'm sure all of you are well aware of all of the points that have been raised, and so I won't belabor the point. On my way here this morning, I thought this is ironic that we would be discussing undermining of our democratic process the day before Independence Day. Independence Day and the fight to regain autonomy, to establish a form of self-governance that is unique to this country, that my father fought to uphold, and many generations before him, that people in this room have worked tirelessly, many laying down their lives for us to be able to cast a vote. We all share one thing in common, and that is we have one vote each. And that vote is what's landed you in your seat. Miss Olivia started with two words that I think are powerful, that start with an A, and she knew exactly what they meant. And I hope that you consider them both, and one is accountability. Where does the buck stop? It stops on your desk. So I ask you to recommend Mr. Hudson's resolution, to take the recommendation of someone who also has sacrificed for this country. And the other is acceptance, to accept the fact that wrong has been done, but that we can work together to correct it. So I want to wish everyone a happy 4th of July. Thank you.
Anyone else? No one else?
I want to address something before we close now. I'm going back to Miss Pearson. I've known her all my life. I would never disrespect you. You insinuated to mean that we couldn't say nothing because we were under lockdown up here. And what I was telling you, I'm on man. You ought to know me. If I feel like it, I'm going, you know. So if I hurt your feelings or you offended, I apologize. Because I love you. I do love you.
I love you too.
But there's times that we can't speak, and there's times that we can. You serve on another body, you know that. But anyway, I just want to say that.
Thank you.
And back to Larry, I love you too, brother. But my integrity, when it is questioned, and my honesty, there's something in me that comes up and rises up, because that is one of the most important things that I hold dear in my life, is my integrity. And I'll protect it at all costs. And to think that this body would do anything that would hurt our county, it upsets me. Because I know, and I know their heart. And that's the reason I get a little aggravated from time to time. But anyway, thank y'all for coming. Thank you for your participation. It's enlightening. God bless you.
Thank you.
Happy 4th.
Happy 4th to you all.
It wasn't by accident that this country came into existence.
That's
It
right.
was providential.
A
God,
lot of work.
God,
A lot of work went into it.
247 years old, and we sit in the greatest country in the world, the most prosperous country in the world, the strongest country in the world. And you don't think the hand of God was on this country that caused it to do that? This country has sent out more missionaries than any other country in the world to get his word out. That's the reason he blesses America. And I'm thankful to be a part of this country. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank everybody for coming. I need a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
First by Mr. Jowers, need a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Meeting adjourned. Thank y'all.
Thank you.